We have some people that we're letting in. They're still connecting to audio. We've got Kristen, Priscilla, Jeff, Colleen, Mary, Lillian, Jeff, Sherry, Ralph, Marcus, iPad. All kinds of fun people here. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for our monthly builders call. Super excited. A lot of people believe that maybe the best time to have joined EXP may have been a few years ago. I can say that in terms of being able to invite people to the company, have them be part of your team, there couldn't be a better time. There's so much amazing press out there about all the things that we're doing, all the value that we're bringing. You know, we launched the whole Success magazine. You know, Glenn was you know, again, looking at the future, and now we have the new president of Success magazine being Tony Robbins' son. So how about that? You know, for crazy news. We also have Success Spaces, and they've launched kind of like a WeWork model across the country to help broker owners who do own their buildings create a different revenue stream. I don't think it's in California yet, but it's in a couple of different states. So I mean, that's exciting. We've got you know, Success Lending. That's something else that they launched. I mean, we're in the metaverse before the metaverse was a thing. So it's such an exciting time to be part of EXP, and I'm so glad that you guys are here. You just be very intentional about the people that are in your circle. Be very intentional about you know, staying in relationship with everyone, and make sure that you're that choice when they decide. You know, because you're the one who has the relationship. They know, like, and trust you. If they have a question about it, you know, hey, why not call Mike, or why not call Bruce, or why not call Priscilla, or Mr. Brent Conley, right? Who's always bringing value. So anyhow, that's my little inspirational talk for the morning. I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Casey Council Jihad.
All right, thanks, Rosie, for welcoming everyone. Great to see your faces, and as more and more of you jump on, looking forward to seeing your faces on video. We don't care what you're wearing. If you brushed your teeth, not brushed your teeth, it's all good. It's way more fun to engage with faces than little black boxes with your name on them. And regardless, we're happy to have you on today. So this call is a call that's done the first Tuesday of every month. And the purpose of this call is to support you who are out in the field that have a vision and a commitment to build something. And as I like to say, the value that gets created in the next 45 minutes or so will be up to you based on how you participate here. What do I mean by that? What I mean is there's that saying that as you seek, so you shall find. And if you're seeking nothing, you're not going to really find anything. And so if we're going to spend the next 45 minutes to an hour together, my invitation to you would get really clear on what you're seeking during this hour so that you can walk away with it and that it can support you in moving forward in what you want to create. Every single person that's on this call is at a different place in their journey. And so there's no wrong questions. There's no irrelevant questions. There's no questions that need not be asked. Like, this is a forum to have a conversation where everything is okay to discuss. That being said, because everyone's at different stages of your journey, you're going to have different obstacles. And the obstacles that you are coming across will be relative to the vision that you have always. So if you have small goals, you're going to have small obstacles. If you have big goals, you're going to have big obstacles. And as you work through them, you know, we just always say that the purpose of a goal is really to drive you forward and keep your vision clear so that you become the person that you're meant to be in the process of what it takes to achieve and create that. I'm on that EXP thing. For people that have large goals and large obstacles, that is what I call the refiner's fire, ultimately to make you the best version of you possible. So what I'd like each of you to do, we're going to start off with 30 seconds, and I want to take the next 30 seconds to help you get present You've been maybe running around in appointments already this morning, dropping kids off at school, doing whatever you've got to do. I want you to put pen to paper. So grab something to write on, something to write with. And over the next 30, 45 seconds, what I'd like you to write is what's currently working really well right now for you as it relates to this context of growing and building an organization. And then based on where you're at in your personal journey, what are the gaps? What are the things that's not working? Where are the places that you might be stuck? And go ahead and put pen to paper. We're going to have about a minute or so to go ahead and do that. As you wrap that up, what I'm going to ask each of you to do is for the areas that you may be stuck or looking for support, go ahead and type them into the chat below, please. And as you type those things into the chat below, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to start off today's discussion with a quote to get some feedback on your perspective of what it means to you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Many of you may have seen this quote before. It's William Hutchinson Murray. And the quote says, "Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, the providence moves to. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way or her way." What is that? What do you hear in that quote?
I'll chime in, Casey. It's basically once you make up your mind, you know, the universe conspires to support you. First step is just really, you know, making that decision and committing. A lot of the times, we're just kind of putting our toe in, you know, just kind of like, you know, checking the temperature. However, very few people are willing to jump in that cold all in. So that's what I take from that.
Cool. Who else?
We have some responses in the chat as well.
I'm going to stop the share so I can see the chat. Once you get your head in the game and commit, the rest will fall into place. Love it. What else?
Well, I think it's really taking action and really going after it. Like everybody talks about, they have these big dreams, big goals to accomplish, and they just get stuck in the minutia of life, and they're not really focused on pursuing what they really, really, truly want.
Love that. So in the context of these three things, belief, actions, and results, which one do you think is the most important?
Belief.
Belief.
They're all important. Forget about it. They're whatever you're on is important. Belief, without action, a belief is just a pipe dream.
I say belief.
Who else has a thought? There's 35 of us on the call.
Well, I'm going to change mine. I'm saying action. That's what, because the belief will come in after. If you do enough action, the belief will start to develop and gain strength.
Yeah, I say
That's what
action.
That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
I'm results oriented.
This is this is an unwinnable discussion.
Ooh, we're going to settle it right here and now. You guys ready? So that if we go back to that quote around until one is committed, there's hesitancy. How do we demonstrate commitment?
By taking action.
By taking action, right? I know what someone's committed to based on their results. So if I say, oh, I'm committed to getting into shape and being a size 6 and being 10% body fat, which would be really low for a woman. Let's make that 15, right? And then you actually see me and I look nothing like that. And I say, I'm committed, I'm committed, I'm committed. Based on results, I'm not committed. So results, sometimes harsh, are always going to be fair. You know what someone's committed to based on the results of what they're creating. And those results are going to come from action. So if I think, okay, I'm looking at, I've got this commitment, I've got this vision, I have a belief that it's possible, and then I don't take action on it, none of that comes to be. So the number one belief building mechanism is taking action. Because when you take action, if you're willing to look at what was effective and what was not effective and grow from it each time, then you're getting better. And if you go out and you take action again and you do that same thing, as you start to build that muscle and you're learning and you're improving and you're growing, your belief is going to go up. The people that have the most belief, the most confidence, the most certainty are the ones who have been engaged in the highest levels of action and activity. The ones that have the lowest confidence, the lowest belief, the lowest certainty are the ones that have been engaged in lower levels of activity. And so you might think, oh, well, you see somebody that is maybe brand new to EXP and they're so excited, they're on fire and they're talking to everyone until they get 10 people in a row that kick them in the teeth. And then they're like, oh, I don't know. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. And is this really going to work? And it's like, well, what happened to your belief and your commitment, right? Belief and commitment can go out the window. It's the action day in, day out, conversation in, conversation out that is going to be the supportive thing that's going to help you grow. Because would you agree that that action is all we have, right? So when we look at action, and now we're going to talk about capacity, the action and the capacity, right? I was on the phone yesterday with someone having a conversation, and we were talking about the third-party validation training call. And I said, how is that going for you? They're great. And I said, she said, they're really working. And I said, how long are your conversations? And she goes, well, an hour and a half, sometimes longer. And I said, really, have you played with the idea of having a 30-minute validation call? And she said, well, no. And I said, that's interesting. Tell me about that. And she said, well, we just don't. We just get on and we do what we do, and that's how we do it, and that's how we've been doing it. So I said to her, what would happen if you could create the same amount of value in 30 minutes that you're creating in 60 to 90 minutes? What would happen for your organization personally, right? What would happen as it relates to your real estate sales business that you're still, very actively working in? And bigger question is, what would happen if the effectiveness of a 60 to 90 minute call, you were able to get that into 30 minutes? What would happen in your organization if people started replicating that? And she said, oh, we'd blow up. And so the there's always, why am I telling you that story? There's always things to tweak. So as you look at your list of things that are working right now for you, and they're working well, the question then becomes, how do we take what's working well and take that to the next level? And where there's areas that there's breakdown or places that are stuck, then looking at those things and going, okay, what is there to adjust and to tweak? All right, so we've got a shy group today. As I'm looking at the comments, there's no agenda items of places where people are stuck or things aren't working. So until I see something in there or someone wants to come off mute, then I'm going to keep going and jumping into the next thing that I was prepared to talk about today. I'll give you a chance.
I'll share a couple lessons I had over the last 6 weeks. I'd say I had 3 people sign up and they ended up not coming to EXP, and for different reasons. One, a broker, she wanted to tell her broker, so she went and told her broker, and Keller Williams threw her a bunch of stuff, and so she bailed out. So I think I'll still get her after Keller Williams promises fail, but it kind of delayed that. And so the second one, I had a team, and they're going to move to Arizona, and they're going to work with me over there. And then they're not moving there anymore, so they're going to stay independent. So that's going to take a little bit longer. He's still committed to coming eventually, but that was the second one. And then I had another one that just totally bailed off of it after having a great conversation. I don't have a reason for that. And then, I'll tell you about 2, talking to a brokerage, 135 agents or whatever, can't get out of this franchise agreement, but he wants to. So he's going to sell. And then I think I'll get him within the year after he sells it. And I just want the leader. I don't care. Like, okay, 130 agents that have been fantastic. Well, I'll take the leader. We'll rebuild it. So I had some huge failures, if you look at it that way. But I was like, wait a minute here. I'm in the batter's box. I'm hitting. I'm hitting this. I'm getting the triples, and I didn't get the home run because they haven't come over. But I'm lucky enough to be continuously prospecting and working this. And even though there's some failures, there's some frustration there of like, man, how come I'm not totally closing these people? They were closed. There was outside obstacles that got in the way. That interfered. So I'm still pushing forward. And then some of my team under, not my real estate team, but my organization, they're talking to big brokerages, like 300-400 agents. And there's 2 of them. They can't get out of franchise agreements, and one's an independent. But we're having some really good conversations that people are talking about EXP. They're wanting to come to EXP, and the time delays just are there. They just don't match up on my schedule. And so I'm doing all the right things, and I'm sharing this to encourage everybody out there, like, start swinging the bat. So there you go, Casey.
I love that. And there's something that you brought up that I want to talk about, which is the 3 phases of someone coming over and the importance of having a plan and a strategy in each phase. So this topic is related to every single example that you just gave. And Brent, thank you for sharing, because a lot of times people will look at you and they'll look at your organization and what you built and who you are and think like, oh, well, that guy doesn't get discouraged. Everyone says yes to him. Look at what he's built and created. Look at who he is. And it's so easy to look at people that have created big things and just realize like that person has gone through 1,000 more struggles, talked to thousands of more people. Like they've gone through so much more than I have to get to where they're at today. So that is always going on in the background. And I think the difference is between somebody like you and somebody that maybe doesn't have the same attitude is you're like, you see the big picture. I call it being the difference between being married and dating. Right? Like if I'm dating someone, there may be other possibilities that come along because I'm not set. However, when I am like married, I am done. There is no other possibilities. There's not any other option. And that's how you approach what you're building and creating with the EXP. So whether someone says yes, or whether someone says no, or whether they say yes, and then it turns into a no, you're continuing moving forward because you're married to what you're creating and you're committed at that level. Does it mean that it is fun to have those things, go sideways, particularly when you're investing a lot of time and energy in people? No, not at all. However, I think the lesson here for everyone is that you keep moving, right? And when we make it about ourselves, we make it about what's happening with each person. When we make it about other people and working with and helping and serving other people, it's like, okay, great. Who is looking for me that haven't come in contact yet? I always say I'm looking for people that don't know that they're looking for us, right? And then we meet and we have the conversation. It's like, where have you been my whole life? Right. And now there's plenty of those people out there for every single person on this call based on the relationships that you have. But back to the 3 different areas and phases of any person's journey from where they're at to coming to EXP. There is the before they move their license phase. There is the process of actually moving over, if that's a single agent or a team or a brokerage. There's the process of actually physically moving over to EXP. And then there's the phase 3 of what happens once they're here. And so regardless of if this process takes 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years for some of the people that you're working on, it's important to know which phase you're in and have a very proactive and strategic plan for each phase. So for the person that's not ready to come to EXP for whatever reason, however, they know that they're going to at some point, my question would be, and as you're looking at yourselves and the people that you're working with and working on, is what is your strategy for phase 1? What happens between where you're at now and when you move over? Is it about closing out transactions? Is it about locating a different space? Is it about downsizing? Is it about plugging in and learning and getting integrated into the organization so that you feel confident about who you're in business with? What's happening in that phase 1 for the person that has not yet pulled the trigger to come to EXP? And that's going to be different person to person. How do you know what that is? Well, you ask them, right?
Oh, so Casey, I also want to say on that is the 3-way call. That person that you're getting on the 3-way call makes a huge difference. Even when you know they're coming to EXP, it still makes a huge difference because there's different questions being asked and there's different energy, there's different relatability. And all of that conveys to them that there's more than one person in the leadership team that is going to help them succeed at EXP. So that's why we have an upline, everybody. So I just wanted to mention that. Use it. It's so important. I've lost a ton of people because I thought I had them in the bag and I didn't use different people, different personality styles to make sure that connection's there. And they didn't ask those different questions than I did because my train of thought's different. And they didn't fully connect or commit to coming over to this brokerage. So wanted to mention that too.
Yeah. And that is definitely a phase 1, a phase 1 strategy, right? How many people that I'm in business with, which would mean if you log into your my.exprealty.com and you click in the upper right-hand corner, it will tell you the 7 people that are listed that are your senior partners. And as you introduce people to more and more and more of them, that is think about it. Most people, community is really important. Who you're in business with is important. The average of the 5 people you surround yourself with is important. Carolyn, is Carolyn on the call? I thought I saw her here. Carolyn Howard. Yes, Carolyn. We had a call with one of Carolyn's relationships, somebody that has been approached and really turned off about EXP, however, loves Carolyn and was looking for some support on scaling her business. So we got on the phone and had a conversation about how you scale a business. And she got an experience of me not talking to her about EXP, talking to her about her business and the scalability of it. And the conversation based on how the tools and resources, which I'm going to share my screen with, for those of you asking, what is a 30-minute validation? There was that question. We shared with her our version of scalability within EXP, right? So empirebuilders.pro is a site that Rick and I built for our entire organization as a one-stop shop for growing your sales business, simply onboarding someone step by step, and attraction and recruiting. That third-party validation training is in there. And so when she saw, I said, I'm showing you this and it's about EXP, however, we're not talking about EXP. we're talking about your business and giving you physical examples of ways that you could scale it and some of the things that would be important in the context of what her business was. Well, what did that do? That opened up. She was like, oh my goodness, this is, you know, when I thought about EXP, it's like, I don't want to be the person having to do this person to person to person. And here this resource is. And so where she had been, and we weren't talking about EXP, but Carolyn is on our 7th level in our organization, and we have a relationship with Carolyn, and Carolyn is using the support that's available to her, that's available to you and everyone else on this call to build bridges and create relationships at a higher level. So while that initial conversation was not about EXP at all, she got a soft exposure to something that she had no idea existed within our leadership group. And she got the ability to, we had calls actually around her business, what was important to her, and an experience of the people that Carolyn's in partnership with. So in that phase 1, right, she's not even looking at coming to EXP. However, that third-party validation call in connecting people with people strategically is really key. Phase 2 is when someone's ready to pull the trigger and actually physically move their license. I would venture to say that maybe 1% of the people that are on this call are taking advantage of the most important window when somebody moves their license, that when they are coming in part for what they see that's available and building an organization and building revenue share, there is one strategic window, and it happens 2 to 3 days before the license gets pulled, and it happens before there is any public notice like social media or announcements made that that person's moving over. Who can guess what that is?
Reluctance.
Okay, reluctance. Who else can guess?
Just the fear of change.
Fear of change. Okay.
Maybe the broker giving them a better deal. They pull back.
Okay. Great. What else?
I think they just start to get overwhelmed a few days before. There's all the excitement leading up to that moment. And then they're like, oh my God, I'm really doing this. And how is my business going to continue when that change occurs? And the wheels start coming off the bus a little bit. Where's the support? So they will look to you as a sponsor to make sure that you going to be there at that moment to help them through that, or have people in place to help them through that.
Yeah.
And they start talking to people possibly too. You know, they start talking and getting a feel like if they want to build it or get other opinions. Obviously, they're not in it. They don't know how to do these third-party validations, and so they start to get negative feedback. Because
Casey, I'm gonna say it's requesting their existing broker signature on the transfer form.
Okay.
I think I would look at it as a positive, because I look at like everything that everyone's saying is all based on negative stuff. And I think I've done a lot of recruiting for Keller Williams and was a team leader for a long time. And so I think there's that window right there where actually most people are fairly excited. Yeah, there's a little bit of fear and there's a little bit of hesitancy, but there's such a huge opportunity right there, because they are telling their closest friends and the people that trust them that they're making the move before they're telling their brokers. And yes, there could be some doubt and whatnot. So you're coaching them through that, and you're coaching them through what to say. You know, I mean, I would always say, when you go to talk to your broker, I'm going to tell you, they're going to try to get you back. Is there anything that would cause you to want to stay where you're at? Here's some of the things they're probably going to tell you. So I would handle all the objections before I'd even talk to them before they move over. I mean, I've got 2 of them sitting right here with me. Yeah, I told them that too, because I was pretty used. I was used to those objections. So I know Nick wanted to pop in real quick.
Yeah. So one of the things in that moment, I think it's when you're most excited about moving across, and also nobody likes to do things necessarily alone. So telling their friends and you want to validate your own decision to move across. And I think you're pretty strong on recruitment at that point. Like right after coming across, after speaking to Erica, I was more than happy to tell other people that I knew what I found out from Erica. And that resulted in 2 other agents following me across pretty shortly afterwards.
I love that. So there is something that some of you touched on. However, I'm going to give you a specific thing to do as you're moving from phase 1 to phase 2 that can be a game changer. I think it's important to remember that 88% of the people that come to EXP based on the EXP numbers are here to grow the real estate sales businesses and to level up in who they're in partnership with, to take their lives and their businesses to the next level and be aligned with the right people. There is that 12% that are going to want to build and grow an organization. And so it's important first off to know why someone's coming over and to have a strategy in place 2 to 3 days before someone pulls the trigger and moves their license. I'm going to go and share my screen. This might be review for some of you. However, life is about mastering the basics. And I'm going to pull up a visual so that we have got it. Okay, so in this number 1, in somebody getting started as they're moving over to EXP, it's really important to have their story in place. Why are they moving and what do they want to create as a result of being here? And have an ability to language that up in like 20 seconds. I call it an elevator pitch. Right. So for one gal that we brought over during the pandemic, it was like this was her pitch. I've been in business 24 years as an agent. And as the world's gone mad, some people, Rick Jiha, I just see him thriving and growing and everyone that he's around and in partnership with doing the same thing. At the same time, I've been doing this deal 24 years and have no retirement. And as I learned more about what was available, I saw a way to work smart over the next handful of years and set our family up in a way that we've never been set up before to date. That was her story. And then moving forward, the vision was, I know I'm not the only agent that's not set up. And so my commitment is to help educate agents about what's available and make proactive plans to get them set up in a better way in their businesses and their lives, period. It wasn't about EXP. It wasn't about coming to EXP. That was her story, right? And what we did with her as we onboarded her is that part of that process before she told her broker, before she moved her license, was we built her contact strategy list. And I said, I want your top 20 people. Who are the top 20 people that you've got really great relationships with? And then we walked her through a process that is called, I wanted you to hear it from me, not from someone else. So what she did with those top 20 relationships was this. Here's the script, you guys. She reached out to them systematically and just said, hey, I'm reaching out. There's something, important that I want to tell you. I wanted you to hear it from me, but not someone else. But first, how are you? How's your business? How's the family? Caught up, right? And then the compliment. Listen, we've been, colleagues and now friends as a result of being in real estate. And you're somebody I love, respect, admire, whatever it was she said about the compliment. And then she said, you're probably going to hear some buzz because I'm making a significant career move. And I didn't want you to hear it, on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or from other people talking about it. I wanted you to hear it from me and give you the opportunity to share, why. And so here's the interesting thing. And I want to share this with you as an example to show you 2 things: using the system and working in partnership with the people that have an invested interest in your success, which is anyone that is 7 levels above you. One of the people, I said, listen, I'll be a fly on the wall and I will coach you on what worked and what can improve on every conversation that you have as you're making those calls. And she said, no, I'll be too nervous. She's never recruited anyone. She's never worked as a team leader. Like, she's never done any of that. She's been in real estate sales for 24 years. And I said, all right, well, you are going to have no idea what you said or didn't say. And it's going to be hard for you to go, what was effective and what didn't work. If you've got a set of ears and me listening, and I can tell you in 30 minutes of making those calls, you can get dialed in with confidence and posture because I can help you get that streamlined. And she's like, no, I want to do it by myself. I said, okay, great. So I said, well, text me if you get stuck, right? So she texts me and she goes, oh my gosh. She's asking what company I'm moving to. What do I say? And so I text her back. I said, don't be weird. say, EXP, have you heard of it? And the lady was like, yeah, I've heard of it. I know all about it. And I said, really? So ask her, has she actually gone through a due diligence process where she watched an overview that explained the entire business model and all the aspects of EXP? And so she asked her, she texted me back. She goes, she's done that. I said, great. Ask her when she did that. She said, oh, she did it a year ago. I said, great. Ask her who she did it with. And she comes back and she goes, she doesn't know who she did it with. It was some guy that was a cold call that reached out to her. She met him in Starbucks. They sat in Starbucks. They watched the model explain together on his laptop, and she didn't want to go that direction. And that was it. Now, most people would think this is the end of the conversation. This is the beginning of the conversation. I said, fantastic. Here's what you do next. Share your story and ask her if she's willing to support you as a friend and a colleague. So she shared her story and she said, listen, I've been in real estate for 24 years. The pandemic hit, the world changed. And what I realized is a couple of things. Number one, I can never stop selling real estate because our family's not set up to retire in any way, shape, or form. And number two, a good friend of mine that lives on the West Coast, everything he was doing was growing and thriving, and he was energized through one of the most stressful times that we were all in. And so I had a conversation and saw a way to work smarter over the next handful of years and get our family set up in a way that is not going to happen if I stay where I'm at doing what I'm doing. And so my commitment now is to help educate other agents on what's available and help them make strategic plans for their business and their life. Here's what support would look like. Are you willing to support me in that vision? And the woman was like, yeah, of course I'm willing to support you. You know, what do you need me to do? And so, of course, I'm texting her. This is like all this texting going back and forth. And so I said, here's what support looks like. It's been a year since you watched the model explained, and the company's changed. There's a lot of things that have happened, and there's a new one that's out. What support would look like is you watching that new one in its entirety and putting together at least 3 questions based on the content that you watch and coming to a conversation with my business partner and asking those questions. As you ask her those questions, that will be my training for how to talk to agents moving forward. That's it. It's a 30-minute call. And she said, I absolutely will do that. So I was the person that did the 3-way call with her. She's like, I can't even believe it. Right. So we get on the call. She, watched the how to do a third-party validation call training. And we get on the call with the woman. And after the introductions, I just said, look, I got her quick story. How'd you get into real estate? She goes, oh, well, I used to be in a business where realtors were my clients. I was like, really? How many clients did you have that were real estate agents? She goes, oh, over 1,000. Now, most people would want to say something about EXP, but this was a training call. So I'm just taking that information, put it in my back pocket, right? Oh, great. Well, why'd you get into real estate? Well, because that position went away and I knew so many people from the industry. It just seemed like my natural next step. I said, fantastic. I said, I know that when you were looking and going through a due diligence period that you did speak to someone about EXP and decided to go somewhere else. Tell me, what had you factor into the decision that you made to go where you went? And she goes, oh, well, it was a team that was doing a lot of business in the area. They had leads, and I figured that the mentoring would be great and I could learn to get my business off the ground quickly. Fantastic. So what's been the best part about your 1.5 years with that team? And she said, well, I've closed 9 transactions my first year as an agent. Perfect. In 3 minutes, I had that woman's entire story and I knew exactly what I was going to do in the 30 minutes that we had together outside of answer her 3 questions. So we went through the 3 questions and I made sure to leave 7 minutes at the end of that call because I was committed to planting a seed. Right. So before we went into that, I said, listen, you have my commitment that I will not attempt to recruit you to EXP or convince you to do something that you don't want to do. This is the context of this conversation is a training call so that Jackie can listen to how I answer your questions and get trained on how to level up and skill up when she's talking to people. And so that's exactly what happened. The call is 7 minutes to the bottom of the hour because I know how to manage the time. I got all 3 questions up front. We addressed them while leaving that window of time at the end. And I said, we're coming to the bottom of the hour. We're running a little bit ahead of schedule. And I have a question for you. Is it okay if I plant a seed before we get off this call? And she said, yeah, of course. And I said, I want to honor my commitment that I made at the beginning of our conversation that I would not attempt to recruit you to EXP or convince you to do something that you don't want to do. And I am committed to honoring that. And she said, okay, thank you. I said, for the sake of planting the seed that I'd like to plant, I said, can we imagine that you are coming to EXP and that's something that you want to do? And she was like, yeah, sure. So what that did was it neutralized the energy to know that this wasn't about her. It's like, can we just pretend for a second? Like pretend, right? So I said, just out of curiosity, you have 1,000 agents that you used to work with. And do you feel like you have good enough relationships with at least 5 of them that if you decided to make a move and come here, that they would want to follow you and be part of what you're creating and doing? And she said, oh, absolutely. And I said, okay, do you have those 5 people in your mind right now? Can you see them in your mind's eye? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, great. So when you think of those 5 people, do you feel like they have credibility and influence and relationships with at least 5 agents themselves that would do the same thing? And she said, yeah, for sure. And I said, okay, so here's the seed that I would like to plant for you. And I shared my screen like I'm going to share it with you. And this is what we brought up. And I very simply wanted her to understand the concept. I said, those 5 people that follow you to EXP would be your level 1. And all the agents at EXP are on an 80-20 split till 16,000 that come over as individual agents. What that 2,800 represents is that they're doing enough business to pay the company $16,000 every year on their split, and they cap. And what you have on level 2 is those 5 agents that each had those relationships with 5 other people, and those agents cap, and it's $3,200 per agent to you. If you add those numbers up, that's $94,000 a year in passive income outside of your day-to-day sales transactions that you're currently doing in your real estate business. Now, let me just tell you this. It's never, ever, ever going to happen that way because you're not going to have 30 capping agents. However, what if they were half cappers? That's still $4,000 a month. I don't know about you. However, $4,000 a month would change most people's lives coming in on a leveraged level. And she said, yeah, it really would. And I said, awesome. That's the seed I wanted to plant. If you ever want to have a conversation about you specifically, your business moving forward, or any way that we can help, we're happy to have that conversation. Seed planted and done. Now, why am I telling you that story? I'm not telling you that story because of the agent that was not with EXP. I'm telling you that story because of the agent that was coming to EXP. Her confidence went through the roof because we went from her reaching out to her top 20 and saying, I want you to hear it from me, not someone else, sharing her story of why she was doing what she was doing and where she was going. Listen, how many of you are bringing agents over that want to build organizations that are reaching out to their top 20 in person 2 to 3 days before there is any public announcement that's being made or happening? Imagine what happens for those agents now as they have maybe 1 or 2 of their friends and colleagues that are going to move with them. When they go to that broker and that broker, is going to try and buy their soul to keep them to stay, and they've already got the beginnings of an organization and a leveraged income stream in the process in those 2 to 3 days, do you think that the pressure is going to feel the same? It's not. That 2 to 3 day window before someone moves is one of the most critical windows for somebody that is committed to building and growing. If you have a proactive plan and strategy put into place, and if you're working with them closely on that strategy, right? So what do I know about Jackie? Well, what I know is that based on that experience that she had in that 3-way call, she had the confidence to continue to reach out and have those conversations. And it laid the foundation that might not otherwise have ever gotten laid had she not done that, had we not had that strategy. So as we kind of, round out this conversation, what I would say is that every window matters. Phase 1, before someone ever comes over here, matters. And what is that included in your phase 1? when you're working with people. Phase 2, the actual transition and having that done strategically, utilizing the onboarding system step by step to keep it organized, to keep it clear, and to make sure that nothing gets missed. Like all of these onboarding links are done, live links and chronologically, to make sure someone's got a great experience as they come over and make that transition. And then of course in phase 3, like once they're here, you might be doing a happy dance and thinking that, great, I had an agent that joined me with EXP, but that's just the beginning. It's the beginning of getting them plugged into the community. Where do they want to grow and build, and getting them plugged into those resources, getting them to events, working together and staying in communication, plugging them in with what you're creating to help upgrade them. And the truth is, people don't walk away from things financially when they're really financially invested, right? So what if that agent had 1 or 2 or 3 agents that they were getting revenue share from in their first 90 days of being with EXP? Do you think that's going to matter in their experience? How do you think that's going to impact retention? Like, these are all things to be really strategic about in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, as you're growing and building. So I know that was a lot of information, and I see there's a couple of items that have come up in the chat group that were questions. But before I move to those, I want to open it up for any questions, comments, feedback, things that weren't clear that you might want clarification on, or just any ahas that might have come up for you as well. It's been a monologue for a bit.
I think going right into action and getting their top 20 list is big. I haven't been doing that lately. I think I did it a couple years ago, but I haven't been doing that lately.
I love that. And that top 20 list, Brent, if there's people that we know together on that list. So let's say I'm recruiting you, Brent, and you make your top 20 list, and a couple of the people that are on your top 20 list are people that I know. Let's say Tina is one of those people. Like right then and there, as we're having that conversation together, I'm like, oh my gosh, Tina White. She's like, I know her too. I'm picking up the phone. I'm calling Tina. Tina, it's Casey, Council Jiha. I can't believe you answered the phone. However, I'm so glad that you did. How the heck are you? And Tina's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm like, you know, I only have a second because I'm about to run into a meeting. Do you have a quick second? And Tina's like, yeah, I got a quick second. Tina, your name came up. I'm sitting here with Brent Connolly, and we're working on a project that we're really excited about in real estate. And so I was like, you know Tina? And Brent's like, yeah, I know Tina really well. We were talking about how we knew you and what we both adore you for different reasons. And so I wanted to reach out and grab 10 to 15 minutes. We're working on something super exciting. When can we chat later today or tomorrow to tell you about what we're up to? Now, if Brent's already with EXP, Tina's going to go, is this about EXP? But if Tina goes on Facebook or anywhere else and it's like, Brent's with Keller Williams. Nope, Brent's not with the XP. What's that conversation, right? So immediately for the brand new person that I'm working with Brent, as we look at those top 20, and if there's any crossover in those relationships, like I immediately want to set Brent up for success while he may be calling his top 20 and maybe he's hesitant or not committed like he thinks he is. I'm committed and we have that relationship in common. And now I have leverage when I pick up the phone and call Tina on behalf of Brent and am demonstrating teamwork. I'm leading by example. And most importantly, if you guys go back to my training on there is no presentation and an invitation, when Tina says, oh my gosh, what are you guys up to? Tell me about it. Tell me all about it in this initial invite call. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're so excited to tell you about it, Tina. However, I got to jump into a meeting, so I physically do not have the time right now. When later today or tomorrow can we grab 10 to 15 minutes? Now, two really important things happen in that. Number one, I am not satisfying any curiosity. So I actually get the 10 to 15 minutes with Tina and Brent. And number two, Tina's going to be thinking about what the heck are Brent and Casey up to. She's probably going to go online and go, oh, is this an EXP thing? She's going to see that Brent's not with the EXP. And she's going to be thinking about it. So Tina's brain is going to be primed by the time I come to that 10 to 15 minute conversation with her. What are they up to? Versus when I caught her initially, she's more than likely in the middle of something and just happened to answer her phone. So yes, love that, Brent, top 20, and also where there's shared relationships, jumping in the trenches immediately. All right, who else? Ahas, takeaways, questions?
I think what I've learned lately too, and that I messed up at the beginning, is kind of what Brent was saying as far as a three-way call, but also Rosie's helped me with this too. And you, Casey, continuing the line, like setting up another call, like going up your upline or leadership, just to continue the conversation. Because at the beginning, I didn't do that, and I was following up by myself, but I didn't really have a reason to follow up or something special to tell them. So I think that's really helped lately, continuing to work that line.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're at a place where they see it, they like it, and it's just not yet, and you don't feel like you have a next step with them, that is 6 calls of next steps, right? Oh my gosh, you've got to meet so-and-so. Oh my gosh, you've got to meet so-and-so. Oh my gosh, you've got to meet so-and-so. And what that's going to do is that's going to help upgrade their belief and expand their vision with every conversation they have, every story they hear, and every person that they meet that now is going to be a part of their tribe and a part of their future success. Love that, Jeff. Who else?
Yeah. Can you just reiterate quickly your 3 questions in your discovery that you do?
For that just meeting an agent for the first time?
Yeah, you had mentioned like within those first few minutes, within those 3 questions, how you're going to drive the.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bring up, and this is also, so if you want to find a longer version of this I'll show you where the longer version is, and then we'll jump right to it. So there is a longer version under the Builders Bootcamp. When you go to Builders Bootcamp, under this anatomy of your story and how to create it, which is 32 minutes, you're going to find that. And then here's the actual conversation piece. So a lot of people will use forward, family, occupation, recreation, dreams to get to know someone. And while that's interesting and you may collect a lot of information about that person, you have no idea what their business needs are or where their gaps are. And if you just say, hey, what's not working in your business right now? Nobody's going to open up and tell you what's not working, because most people are focused on looking good, right? We all want to look good and like we're successful. So whenever I'm meeting an agent for the first time, whether that's a 3-way call or somebody that I think I might want to personally prospect, I just want to know, I'm like, oh, tell me a little bit about you. How long you been in real estate? What were you doing before real estate? That's your background. Why did you get into real estate? Oh, what do you love most about it? And then to help identify a breakdown without having someone feel too vulnerable or exposed, I just like to ask them, tell me, 3 things that you're working on this year in your business to create more, better, or different. And when someone shares with you what they're working on to create more, better, or different, what that reveals underneath it is it's a gap of what's not working that they're working to fix or take to the next level to create more, better, or different. And it helps you identify a need while being able to build, still build relationship. So with that agent that I was on the 3-way call with, it was, tell me about how long you've been in real estate, what you were doing before. And in the context of the conversation that we had with her, it was, why did you move from where you were what you were doing to becoming a realtor? And then because she didn't choose EXP and she knew about EXP, I wanted to know why she went where she went. Like, what was she looking for in her business that had her go there? And then I also wanted to know what her experience has been now that she's been there. Right. So those things, I'm getting like literally in 2 to 3 minutes, so much quality information about them as a person, them as an entrepreneur, them as a real estate agent, that it doesn't take, a lot of times we think it takes like, oh, I need to go sit down with someone for an hour to build value and build the relationship and talk. That is so not true. Like, I would challenge all of you to build that kind of relationship and create those conversations in 10 minutes. And when you do it in 10 minutes, do it in 5. And when you do it in 5, do it in 3. Like, it does not take a long time to create value when you are clear. Sometimes we use more words thinking that more words is better. I like be brief, be brilliant, be gone. How quickly can I get to the essence of what is important for me to know about that agent? And then sometimes I'll ask, since I'm just meeting you for the first time, what would you like me to know about you? And what someone wants you to know about them is also going to tell you so much about that person, right? When you just leave it totally open-ended, because you're going to find out what's important to them based on what they share. And I love open-ended too. So Great questions. Did I cover everything you were looking for, Liliana?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Who else?
Can I say something?
You do not need my permission. Jump right in there, Christian.
Okay, wonderful. Let me get on video. I'm kind of relaxing at the house.
Oh my goodness, kinda. I would definitely call that relaxing at the house. You're floating and it's not in a flood. You're in a pool. Thank you for coming off video.
It's actually my spa. It's a pretty big spa, but I think that I just recently joined last month, and I've kind of been on a rampage of constant learning with a lot of interviews with Rosie. She's been great so far. We've had multiple interviews with really good agents that are seasoned, that have been in the business for 25 years. And I realized that what you made a great point earlier about, I mean, there's only so much follow-up we can do with these people, but the most important key thing I think would be to mention to them, hey, let's strategically put a plan together. Let's see how we can start building your team, start building your base shop, start building your business so that you can create more traction. And as long, because I don't know if a broker or anybody else would actually do that with them. I highly doubt it, because, you know, if they're seasoned agents, that means that they're getting paid top commission, and brokers, you know, they really don't have time to babysit. So I thought that would be a very good way to kind of really make these guys do the rite of passage as far as let's get our license transferred. It'll help create more of that transition, or even make their decision a lot easier, to feel a lot more comfortable, because they're working with somebody that can probably have this, or can probably have freedom in their life and success and all that stuff that comes with it. So I thought that was a great point.
Thank you. I want you all to write these words down. Here's what there is to do next. Here's what there is to do next. Not here's what you need to do. Here's what there is to do next. I don't know about you. Obviously, for those of you that know behavioral styles, I have a lot of D, and when someone else is running the show and things are taken care of, I have a lot of I that comes out, right? However, when I know if it's to be, it's up to me, right? So I know if I am going to bring Rob on board, that I'm not leaving it up to Rob to be self-motivated or figure it out. I'm going to say, Rob, here's what there is to do, right? Based on what you want to create, Rob, here's what there is to do. You want to build an organization with EXP? Great. That's exciting. That's one of the reasons that you're coming over. Here's what there is to do. Let's talk later today about who the most strategic relationships are, the people that you would want to hear from you, not someone else that you are making a change. And let's revisit that at the end of the day. And I'm going to share with you what there is to do next. Yeah, but I haven't even moved my license over. Exactly. I'm showing you here's what there is to do. So when you are like, I'm always looking for leadership. Always. I'm looking for who can I follow, who has something figured out that I don't have figured out at that level, that when they have got it figured out and they tell me, Casey, here's what there is to do, I'm going to freaking go do it, because they've got the results and they know what to do. Right. So when you it's important to have the mindset when you are going to be bringing people from where they're at to here, where you are at, that you are that person for them. You are their leader, not the person, not your upline that's doing the three-way call. It's nobody's that is in those 7 levels above you. It's not their job to bring that person over. It's your job to do that. You are the person that is the leader. You are the person that's influencing that relationship. And it's up to you to have a plan and know, hey, here's what there is to do. You don't know what that plan is. Great. Keep jumping on these calls and asking questions. Well, what do we do here? And what do we do there? Right. So when you have the here's what there is to do, and there's a constant here's what there is to do next, here's what there is to do next, here's what there is to do next, and they're walking through it in bite-sized pieces, all of a sudden the overwhelm about a big change is not so overwhelming. And when they come up against resistance, not if, when they come up against resistance, whether that's from colleagues or their broker or someone else that talks to them, when they come up in resistance, you have them in motion going steadily through here's what there is to do next, that has them engaged, and that engagement is the action, and the action is what's building that belief. To bring it back to the beginning of the call, if you do not have somebody walking through here's what there is to do next constantly, there is no action, there is no belief, and that person's moving further away from you rather than closer to you. So in that whole concept is around keeping the line tight in those relationships, regardless of where that agent is in their timeline of coming to EXP, not coming to EXP. We are the ones as leaders with influence, influencing that person and building that confidence, building that connection, and building that trust by giving them an experience of a high level of competence and a high level of care at the same time. Different things are important to different people, right? Like care is nice for me. However, I'm super competence based. A lot of people are like, oh, you're giving me things next to do. You're staying in communication with me. You care, right? It's not just about getting me over to EXP. Yes. So when you have here's what there is to do next, and you are the leader, the consultant, the partner that's doing that with them, you are building bridges that is probably will ultimately become a lot stronger and have that influence in the long run. Okay, we're at the top of the hour.
Can I comment on that, Casey?
You can, however, my 10 o'clock is calling in, and so I've got to jump. Rosie can hear it and take it and close it out. Thank you all for being here. The recording will be posted. See those of you that'll be in Cabo, and outside of that, next month's call and all the other resources that there are between now and then. I'm taking off.
Awesome.
Rosie, pass it back to you.
Thank you, Casey. So whoever wants to stay on just real quick is make sure that you're taking responsibility for the relationship. That is something that I've learned over the years recruiting. It's really, really important. You're responsible for the relationship. They're not calling you, you have to call them. Okay? They're not putting the event together, you have to put the event together. Okay? That's so important as you're recruiting, and it's a long-term game. It's long-term. Like Brian Margolis is on this call. We were prospecting him for 4 years, right? What's up, Brian? He finally came over. So, but he's not calling me forever. He's not calling me all the time. So I invited him to this call. I texted him and said, hey, get on this call because I want to see him succeed. He's on, I don't even know what level he's on, 5, 6, something like that, probably 4 or 5, something like that. It doesn't matter to me, but I do know that this is the right place for him, whether he knew it for 4 years or not, right? But it's you're responsible for the relationship. Keep inviting people, keep interacting with the people that are in your organization and not in your organization, because that's what a leader does. So you step up as leader. So if you guys want to check out a podcast that I'm a huge fan of, it's John Maxwell, the John Maxwell podcast on Spotify. Like that's really, really awesome to listen to, and your leadership will grow, and you're just going to grow, and you're going to be attracting better people the more that you become a leader. So think about that. That's all I wanted to say, everybody.
Thank you so much, Brent. Thank you for your contribution today. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I think that key takeaway here is like, this is what there is to do. That's one thing I picked up. There being because this is us, it's a partnership. When somebody comes on board, you are that connection, you are that relationship. And so, it's not, we're not selling shakes here, or vitamins. We're really coming into business and into relationship with people. And that's really super important. So like Brent says, you are building that relationship, you are developing that relationship, and, continue. You're also responsible for how that development grows. You ever talk about or think about like how you get courted? If you're like, you're dating someone, or you're not dating someone, but somebody wants to date you, if there's somebody who's really persistent, and some of you guys have that story where like you've been chasing this girl for a long time, or you've been kind of like, like watching that guy and bring them a little coffee, or whatever it is, you are clear on the fact that you want to develop a relationship with that guy or that girl. Well, think about that in this space where Brent is sharing. When you want to be in a relationship, in a professional relationship with someone, you are responsible for, how that relationship goes and grows, right? It's not a two-way street. It's a one-way street. You only need one person who's clear and that is you, right? And so anyways, we do this once a month, guys. It's the Builders Boot Camp. You can go to the empirebuilders.pro. There's recordings from, different sessions. And, just thank you guys for being here. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.